Rajiv here again, and I'm using this as recording number 2. I am not 100% sure of how I should get my face into a small little corner of the screen, but when I did the previous recording, it looked rather large, so I didn't want to see my face to dominate the screen. I'm opening up this color image which I have edited in the past. This is a color photograph, I think a little bit too saturated, of a waterfall in central India called the Pandu Falls. And the person I was with claimed that the Pandava brothers of the Mahabharata fame, along with their wife Draupadi, had spent some time here when they were exiled. I'm not sure where all they traveled, but anyway. Now the reason for this short video is to illustrate that there is a wealth of, let's say there's a large variety in the kind of image you can create when using black and white film. So black and white film is not just black and white. I mentioned that the emulsion is the heart of the film because that controls the overall look. You have the recipe and you have the grain size. The grain size will determine the ISO or the light sensitivity, and the recipe will determine the kind of appearance that the image gets. So now I'm opening this file. I got a warning telling me that if I had opened this as a TIFF file, then I could edit it later. But I'm not opening it as a TIFF because I don't intend to edit this file later, and I'm going to enclose a link to my blog post on the different file types so you can read that at leisure. So this is now I've opened up this file in a program called Nik Silver Efex, and which is absolutely fantastic. I'm coming down to this little section here called film grain, and coming back actually to film types, because so here's the neutral, which is just what it is, and at the top I see the ISO 32 film. This is the Kodak ISO 32 Panatomic X. I'm going to click this, and what you see is a nice contrasty image. Does this have is there a grain for this? I don't think so, but because the 32 ISO film will not have much grain, so there's nothing here, so I'm going back to the original. But you can see it's contrasty. The whites look nice and white, and I want you to focus here on the sensitivity to the various colors in the spectrum and this curve here. So if you look at the way that this curve has been positioned, you notice that this point here has been shifted to the right at the bottom, which means that the blacks in the image become blacker. And that's it. I want you to focus here. You see that there is a reasonably fine line between the water and the rock, and similarly here. And now I will move to the ISO 100 film. Here you have it. This is the Ilford Pan F50, which means that it has a fairly good sensitivity to all the colors in the spectrum. We can see there's far less contrast. This point here is at its is at the bottom left diagonal, but there's a very fine, very slight contrast in this by the shape of this particular curve. I will write about curves another time. That's a fairly advanced topic. It's something which you keep learning through your life, I'd say. Moving to the 100. Again, you can see very slight contrast, but the violets have become much lighter, the reds slightly, the greens much lighter, which you see here. Again, you see a fairly fine line between the water and the rock. The grain size in the 100 ISO films is very fine. Let's see. There you have it. That's the grain for the 100 ISO. I'm going to just flip through all of these, and if you look at the former pan, you'll see that the curve has much more of a curve. The Fuji Neopan across, far less contrast. The Ilford Pan 100, again less. The Role 100, again less, but a little bit more focus on the lighter tones. As a point of reference, the bottom point here will let you know the overall tonality in the dark part of the image. This is the light part of the image, and this represents the midtones. This represents the sensitivity of the film to the different colors in the spectrum. Let's have a look here at the... And that's how it looks with the grain of the Role. The 200. Oops. Now I'm going to go up to look for the... Here you have it again. So again, you see here slightly more contrast. Not much here in the midtones. And even the light sections have been slightly darkened. Now, as you go up the ISO, you're going to find that the sensitivity to light is much better. So you can shoot in low light conditions. I am now taking you through to the Agfa. I'm surprised that there's no Agfa 400 grain here. I'm surprised, so I'll just keep it at the 200. But you see that a little bit of the haziness appears here. Again, in the 400, you have the 400, let's say the Fuji. You can see significant more grain. Have a look at this image now. Now look at the Fuji Neopan 400. Very little contrast, but slightly more focus on the light areas. It's reasonably sensitive, equally sensitive to all the colors in the spectrum. But have a look here. You'll see the grain appear. I'm going to jump straight now to a 1600. That's the same Fuji pan. There you see. Now in the Fuji pan, significant more contrast in the way that the recipe has been created. But the contrast is more in the midtones, which is this area. It is fairly, all the colors are fairly light. Now have a look here. As I kind of bring the red down, all the red part becomes darker. Where is the red here? In the brown of the water. But I want you to look at the grain again. You'll see it's a very grainy image. And the grains are soft. They're not hard grains. I could take it right down. Now the last is the Ilford 3200. And I'm surprised that they have nothing here for the Ilford 3200. Here they do have it. There you have it again. Now look at the contrast here. The darks are very dark, the lights are much lighter, and everything is much brighter here. Again, a soft grain, and there are more grains per pixel here, so that is a pretty significant number as well. So you see there's a much grainier image here. The point of this short, rather crappy little video is to give you an indication that black and white film is not just black and white film. People assume that black and white film is just black and white. And yes, it is black and white, I agree. But there is a lot of play which takes place. The play which that takes place is in the grains per pixel, the grain hardness which you see here, the sensitivity to the different colors in the spectrum, and this curve which determines the contrast in the image. And that is something which is critical, and I hope this short video gives you a little bit of an idea on what black and white film is about. And see you next time, and I promise I will become better and better.